line in the adjacent property owner, and we're fully comfortable with that.
Actually, there is no required buffer.
I know there
on that.
isn't a requirement, but we're proposing a 35-foot buffer, meeting the town standards for a 35-foot buffer.
Well, you have a drainage way in the middle of that, so
I
that'd be kind
understand.
of tough. But aside from that, we can't reinforce that, so I just want to make that clear.
No,
to you
I'm
all
just
as the
saying-
planning
But a
commission.
constant reminder is, once it's rezoned, it's rezoned.
I understand that.
So-
I understand that, and that's why we're here today, is we're asking for rezoning.
Anybody else have any questions? So Ruth, we have,
Basically, this is for discussion
Just on
purposes only,
re-
so it'll be up for a vote at the November Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you.
discussion of amendments to Chapter 4, Section 12, sidewalks and other pedestrian facilities of the Farragut zoning ordinance to require sidewalks or walking trails on all commercial streets and internal connectivity. This is also for discussion purposes only.
Yes, a few months back, Mark presented to you all his pedestrian and bicycle plan that he had prepared, and he did a great job with the plan, and you all approved the plan, and so now we're at the point now where we implement the plan. And part of the implementation process is amending our regulations to require that certain, that these facilities actually are automatically required rather than, gee, this is a really good idea. And for clarification purposes. One of the clarification purposes is the goal 3 of the pedestrian and bicycle plan states, promote pedestrian connectivity between commercial, office, and service uses so as to minimize inefficient and highly fuel consumptive short trips related to the completion of service-oriented errands. What this does is that if you park at one place, you don't have to get in your car and drive to the next, that you actually can safely walk over. And the First Choice Automotive is a good example, that you can park your car there, get it serviced, and walk over to the CVS to kill some
When you
time,
come back and
get
get
some
the bill for the
medication.
automotive work.
Yeah, that's right. Get some Xanax while you're, but that's as a matter of practice, we have always told folks that they needed to provide the pedestrian connections to, for example, the adjoining roadway. But this is a practice that really, when going through our ordinances, there nowhere does it state it is required. And so what this does is, because part of the applicable strategies of Goal 3 are the pedestrian connection should be made from the parking lot of new developments or redevelopments to existing pedestrian facilities abutting the road on which the property fronts. We already do this, but we don't have anywhere in our ordinances that mandate that. You, as the Planning Commission, have always been very judicious with requiring this, and it's a great thing to do. And then pedestrian connections should be made laterally between adjacent developments, and then require appropriate pedestrian facilities for all commercial and office entities, even if they do not front along a collector or arterial street. A good example of this is West End and West Point Drive up at Orthodontics Row by next to the high school. Everybody knows where I'm talking about? Chances are your child has visited there. In essence, you have a street that has no sidewalks on. And in reality, because of the orthodontics, or the dentists that are up there, and kids are walking down there from schools, there really should be a sidewalk on that street. It is a local street. So what this proposed amendment would do is implement these 3 strategies of Goal 3. And in essence, I would like to point out to you whenever you list something, your highest priority is listed first. So under A, where new construction or the redevelopment of a site necessitates a site plan review by the Planning Commission, I inserted walking trails first, because walking trails should be our higher priority over sidewalks. Most definitely within a subdivision, when a residential subdivision on a spine street, you're not gonna see a walking trail, you're gonna see a sidewalk. But on our collectors and arterials, we should be seeing walking trails, because it does accommodate more users. It accommodates, not only more users to be using simultaneously, but it's also a lot easier on your body. From a bicycler standpoint, if you're on a sidewalk, you get that thunk, 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 thunk all the time. And if you're a walker, asphalt or concrete is 10 times harder than asphalt. And if you have foot, knee, or any other problem, that difference really makes, you can feel that. But anyway, so we say walking trails or sidewalks as determined by the Planning Commission shall be constructed on all abutting streets. I eliminated collector and arterials because if a site plan is required, it is going to be a commercial office, some kind of entity such as that, and there needs to be, doesn't matter the classification of the street, but that there would be a walking surface. And then I go on about preference shall be given to walking trails along collectors and arterial streets because the greater width better accommodates a variety of users, to give that purpose in there. Then adding a new B, where new construction or the redevelopment of site necessitates a site plan review by the Planning Commission, sidewalks or walking trails as determined by the Planning Commission shall be constructed from the parking lot to the pedestrian facility abutting the street on which the property fronts and to adjacent developments. This clarifies what we've been doing for the most part. We haven't been as diligent to adjacent developments, but we've been very diligent to taking, like for example, with both site plans that you reviewed tonight, both of them had trails going to the adjoining streets, or sidewalks, I should say. And then the Planning Commission may also require a pedestrian facility to be constructed on an adjacent shared access easement. A good example of this, I'll use the Home Federal as an example. Very nice development on the southeast corner of Parkside Drive and Grigsby Chapel Road. There is that shared access easement that when you leave the Home Federal, you drive along that, and that's how you get to your traffic signal. As that area develops, there's no sidewalk or pedestrian accommodation through there. So if I stop at, let's say I am, that develops there along that access easement at some point in time in the future, and I run out and it's like, oh, I'm gonna go by and get some, go to the instant money machine and grab some cash, and I'm gonna continue on west. You know, we want to make it convenient and safe for somebody to just walk over and get cash or go to the bank if they go inside or whatever and walk back rather than driving east and then driving west if they're continuing on west. So that's an example of a shared access easement where it may have been appropriate or would be appropriate for there to be a walking surface adjacent to it. One of the things that I think that the Planning Commission has done a fantastic job of in this town, and we are complimented. You all may not get the compliments, but staff does get the compliments, and people don't even realize it, is that they don't have to get out on Parkside Drive. They can go to one development to the next without having to get back out on Parkside Drive. So we do a great job with interconnectivity for vehicular traffic. So this is just adding that next step, that it's not just vehicular traffic, but that we also accommodate, you know, the pedestrian or the bicycle traffic with the interconnectivity. Like I said, you know, the town has done a great job with that. I think that really helps with congestion, especially at Christmas time on Parkside Drive. You know, you kind of want to be able to maneuver around without having more options as possible. So you're going to, like I said, when we talked about the subdivision regulations, we're kind of working on that. So this was a quicker and easier one, so we brought this one to you first. But you will be seeing the subdivision regulation amendments too, with the starting of the implementation of the walking, the pedestrian and bike plan.
I think that's a well thought out proposal, Ruth.
Thank you.
I've noticed from several different sources that pedestrian ways are very hot right now, I guess you'd say. They're kind of the buzzword right now of development and at the top of the list for desired things that people want in a community.
A few years back, Retire Tennessee, which is a program that the state sponsors or runs or whatever, it's one of their programs, and because Tennessee is such a desirable place to live from climate, you still get your 4 seasons, but you don't have the harsh winters, and not so hot summers, but not so much this summer. But you have the good seasonality. It's a great place for retirees, and so Tennessee markets itself as a retiree center, and there are national surveys and there's national conferences, and you know, it's one of those things that you just don't know that's out there because you know you don't deal with it. But the number one thing that is identified is always pedestrian facilities. It comes before healthcare. It comes before convenient shopping. Pedestrian facilities, because walking is something that you can do, you know, well into your years. You don't have to be, you know, not too many people are going to be playing, you know, lacrosse and rugby and, you know, all those kind of sports and activities, but walking is something that you can do, and bicycling that you can do for many years past other activities. So okay.
And
Sounds
you will
good.
have that for us next time.
That'll be on for vote next time,
month,
too.
Okay. Public hearing on proposed utilities, no new utilities this time.
There's none.
The meeting is adjourned.